Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Week 9 here in Division 2 of the Midwest F1 League. I'm Hotspot, and here we are in Sao Paulo at Interlagos here in Brazil. 15 corners make up this anti-clockwise 4.3-kilometer circuit with 10 to the left and 5 to the right. 2 DRS zones here, with the biggest challenge being track limits through turns 1 and 2, then exit of turn 7, and also on exit of turn 5 if you're not careful. The 3 big action zones going into this race are, of course, being into turns 1 and 2. Always a mess here, especially here in Brazil. That's a very interesting downhill section of S's that you see on the screen right now. Two being the 2 DRS zones being from turn 3 to 4, and after turn 15 and onwards, those being the best overtaking opportunities, as well as finally going into turns both turns 8 and 10, which, if taken correctly, can be mega opportunities for overtaking. And I've asked the drivers to give me some sort of a weather forecast for this race that we will be getting in very shortly. That is, after all, the plan. As we see who, if anybody, has chosen to at me in Discord. Division 2 chat. No, there's nothing here. So who's going to be the first out on track? It looks like it's going to be the Alfa Romeo of Murphy out on track first, as apparently Haytite Gaming has gone and left the session for some reason. So Murphy being in that Alfa Romeo machine, he's chosen to fit the medium compound tires, which I think is an interesting decision, although we can get into tire strategies later on. But as you see here, this is a very fun track, very fun to race on and compete on. I had a good time last night in the F2 division. And I tell you what, those cars are immensely difficult to drive on this circuit. So that's definitely... I guess F1 is not as big of a challenge as F2, although F1 definitely has a lot more intricacies than F2. But either way, this track is very difficult if not handled properly. And let's go ahead and start this impromptu track guide. So turn number 1, you're going to want to take this turn very close down to the inside as to get a good line into the second corner and not invalidate track limits on exit, which Murphy did, although it may be a little bit slower than he would have liked to. A good exit to 3 rather, will get you all the way down the DRS straight, carry a lot of speed, then into turn 4, which you can actually break this corner a lot later than you may expect, around the 50-yard board, actually, or 50 meters. Through turn 5 and 6, going up the hill into 6, just be aware of track limits on exit of 5. 6 and a good entrance and exit of 7 can make up a lot of time on this lap. And then going through turn 8, be sure not to hit the throttle too early, as that's definitely a place to spin your tires, as well as on exit of turn 10. Now, turn 10 is interesting because you come out of the... You come out of turn number 9 very wide, and then go in towards the right side of the track, and then go into turn 10 on the left side of the track. So you really need to swerve really much back in. Turns 12 and 13, pretty straightforward there. Just go across the curbing, make up some time, and then finally through turns 13, 14, and 15, all pretty much straightforward here. Nothing really to be worried about, unless you're Will Ans, who last season at this track actually invalidated his lap going through turn number 15 on the inside of the track, which was I mean, understandable, because you want to cut off as much as that corner as you possibly can to make it as much as a straight line. Murphy has provisional pole with 108.016, and as I said, he's on the medium tire, so that might be a little bit slow of a lap. However, as we see, it's not actually that far off. We have here, that's Fusilim in the Haas, as only about 0.2 of a second back to Murphy, and then Young DJ within a tenth, actually 7/100ths of a second behind Fusilim in the Haas. So that's going to be interesting to see. Certainly. So all to play for this. Oh, what has happened here? I was reading my notes and suddenly 2 cars are off in the dirt on exit of turn 13. That will be the Alfa Romeo of Murfancelli and the Red Bull of Ray 46 off on exit of turn number 13. And I was about to start reading my notes, and I'll have to throw in that replay, as that has completely caught me off guard there. Front wings being scattered, and as you can see there, Murfancelli missing just the end plate of his car, though Ray 46 definitely missing a hefty chunk of his Red Bull Honda. And I'll have to throw in the replay of that, because I honestly did not get a good look of what happened there whatsoever, as I was in the middle of trying to read off my driver notes, and then suddenly we had an incident. So yeah, that's interesting there. But all to play for this week, as Will Ans is moved up to Division 1 for the week. His seat is filled by Lingy 12 in that AlphaTauri machine. Secondly, Chief Braids is being replaced by M. Galloway 2, as we see on screen right now. This is his debut here in the Midwest F1 League, a driver that I've heard has some real pace on him as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares here in Division 2. And then finally, young DJ is filling in for Noganator in the Red Bull this week. And as we see, M. Galloway has invalidated his lap, and he's chosen to go on the softs as well. So he's going to be starting a new one here very shortly. Let's see how he handles it. Actually, he's on the medium tires, although it says the soft tires. That's pretty interesting. Down the hill through 1 and 2. I think he actually carried a decent amount of speed through there. Maybe a little bit slower than Murfancelli from the looks of it, but not that bad whatsoever. Handling exit of turn 5 pretty well. Nothing really to be ashamed of there. Maybe a little bit slow. Didn't get really as wide as I would have initially expected to, although it does look like he's on a pretty decent lap so far. Doesn't really carry much speed through turn 9. Takes it a little bit wider. Doesn't take any of the curbing through that section of the track, although looks to be on a decent lap. We'll see. We'll have to see where this puts him. And on your screen right there, you see Ray 46 not happy with Murfancelli, saying, Ray 46, bro, I moved to the side of you and you still hit me. Now I have a 5-place grid penalty, that being for Ray 46. And so M. Galloway 2 goes P7 with that lap, about 0.8 of a second off the pace of first place Uncle Ben's Rice, with who has a 107.597, a pretty solid lap there. Fuselim now almost 0.2 of a second behind him, however. Pretty closely contested here, I will say. It's going to be interesting to see how this division fares without Will Ans this week. I mean, Will Ans a huge player in this division, and I tell you what, we could be in store for I don't want to say a bit of an upset today, but maybe Ben's Rice will get his time to shine. I don't want to say for the most part this season's been within Will Ans' shadow, but definitely been trying to be on the same wavelength as Will Ans. And Uncle Ben's Rice letting me know both qualifying and race is going to be bone dry. So that's going to be good to see, because then the tire strategies are really going to come out to play. Monkey Mafia. So he says there's a chance of rain late in the race, but I don't think it's going to matter that much at that point in time. As it looks like Haytight Gaming's jumped up to the top. Soy Loco goes into second, although he goes a little bit wide there on entry to turn 1. Maybe missed his braking point, or maybe just letting a driver go by. Both of those options definitely possible, and the camera actually had to cut to a different angle. And so definitely not what either Murfancelli or Ray 46 needed at this stage of the season, as both of those drivers definitely doing everything they can to put together some good results. That's pretty much exactly what they need. I mean, Murfancelli 40 points behind the cutoff to get into Division 1 for next season. Let's actually go over that right now, actually. The Division 2 constructor standings. AlphaTauri still has that top spot, 344 points going into Week 9. Williams decently far behind them at 317. However, that Renault F1 team only 7 points back of Williams, and that one's going to be interesting to see as well, because those two teams definitely have loads of talent on them, and that is going to be a constructor battle that goes right down to the wire. Ferrari a little bit further behind at 293. And then they're in 5th, Racing Point at 268. You got Alfa Romeo not that far behind them in 6th at 232. But not that far behind them. I thought that was 262. That's a decently far gap from 5th and 6th. It's only a 2-point gap still between Mercedes and Haas, 7th and 8th, 201 and 199 respectively. Red Bull Racing back there in 9th at 159, and then McLaren finally breaking the cusp of triple digits, moving in still in 10th place at 103 points. And then finally the promotion and relegation battles here in Division 2. For promotion, I mean, Will Ans has a massive lead. There's pretty much, I don't think there's going to be any doubt that Will Ans is going to be getting into Division 1 next season. Uncle Ben's Rice not that far behind either. I think he's probably a safe bet to get in as well at 91 points over the cut line. Soy Loco only 40 points above the cut line, though that's a pretty comfortable gap, though for most people, I think, not necessarily when you have Murphy there as the next up at also 40 points behind. Forza Juve also 40 points behind, and then Chief Braids minus 43. Very, very close amongst those three drivers, and I think that pretty much, if any of them can get a really good day, they can start to get even closer within that 40-point margin of Soy Loco. That one's going to be very interesting to see as well when we get to the final race of the season. And then the fight to avoid relegation, Niru Nix sitting 31 points above the cut line, Humble Hippo 22 points, and then Hightower in a very risky position at only 12 points above the cut line. Fusilim 12 points below. However, I will say, when Fusilim is on his game, he is a very, very tough driver to beat, and that is going to be a battle definitely to watch at the end of the season. Noganator 23 points down, and Puff Digital 25 points down. So the battle to avoid relegation definitely closer than the battle for promotion, though I will say both of them interesting and exciting in their own respects. This one is going to be a fun race today here at Interlagos. Already some drama happening with Murphy and Ray 46. I'm just interested to see on what Ray 46 is going to do next. I mean, he has a 5-place grid penalty, but you would assume that he's going to go out and try to put together some massive lap to maybe try to negate that 5-place grid penalty. So Heytight Gaming still P1 at this moment in time. Puff Digital's moved up to second, just over a tenth of a second behind in that McLaren seat. Although I will say he's not that far off. Soy Loco about 0.2 of a second. Oh, he's just moved actually back to third as Uncle Ben's Rice takes provisional pole with a 106.928. That is the fastest lap that we've seen today. That puts nearly a 0.4 of a second gap back on second place of Heytight. Puff Digital in third, Soy Loco in fourth currently, although here he comes to the end of a flying lap, and Soy Loco is going to stay P4 with a 107.469. Behind him in fifth is the Haas of Fusilim, who's about 0.8 of a second behind. Young DJ in sixth in the Red Bull. Now that would be a really, really good qualifying result for this Red Bull team, and one that they're definitely going to need now that Ray 46 has that 5-place grid penalty. Definitely good to see from Young DJ. Forza Juve, now he sits seventh. He's kind of in an interesting spot here, as well as Murphy in that Alfa Romeo, who is on those soft compound tires. We'll have to see what he can pull out now, as that one's going to be interesting to see where he comes out to when he is on a timed lap now, so let's stay along with him. So the top 8, all within 1 second of each other. That was probably about to P10 before Uncle Ben's Rice decided to get into the 106 range. Here comes Murphy to the line on the soft compound, and he's going to jump up to third. An absolutely beautiful lap from Murphy. Nicely done from him. That one, I'm sure he'll be happy with. So that puts Niru Nix down to 9th. Saffron City sitting there in 11th. Now his teammate of Monkey Mafia, 11th and 12th. 11th and 15th, actually, for Monkey Mafia. or Saffron City and Monkey Mafia. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. These two drivers, I mean, they need a good result to simply stay kind of away from Renault, as Renault is definitely closing in on that second spot in the Constructors' Championship. Tonian sitting there in 12th. He's got some work to do, although he's not that far off from maybe a P8 here if he puts in that good of a lap. As we're starting to near the end of the session. I tell you what, this AlphaTauri team of Linghi and El Capitano definitely not in the place that they need to be right now. I mean, they still have a decent gap back on second place of Williams, over just about 30 points, only 3 shy of 30 points, but I mean, that's definitely not what they need to be starting at the moment, provisional 13th and 17th. And young DJ finds himself in an interesting part of the track in turn 13, and he's going to be letting the AlphaTauri of, I believe that is Capitano by. Capitano, it still says they're on, because that's on best. I might be a little dumb, just letting you know now. He's gone and fitted the soft compound, and Capitano moves up into 9th, so forcing Forza Juve out of the top 10. Detail, who was in 11th previously, I mean, that's still not that far of a gap. It's within 1/10 of a second between 11th and 12th, and just a little bit over from 10th to 12th. So that one's going to be an interesting battle there in the midfield. Now, who's this behind the AlphaTauri? That is the BWT Racing Point of Soy Loco that was getting as much of a tow on that AlphaTauri as he could, although he is on a outlap, so that's not going to be that much of a meaning there, although that would have been interesting to see for sure. Nix has gone and retired from the session. He is in the pits. P14 looks like the best that Nix can manage. Now, I'm not sure if that's where he wants to be, or maybe he's just saving the tires. It could be both. I mean, Nix has been one of those drivers to kind of pit early and retire from the qualifying session a little bit earlier than everyone else. But I think maybe his idea is, let's just save the tires for the race. Which I mean, that's an interesting strategy. I'm not gonna diss the strategy because sometimes it might work. Soy Loco starting his timed lap now. Just over a minute to go in the session. We see both Uncle Ben's Rice and Murphin, I believe that's Puff Digital as well, starting timed laps. Now let's go along with Puff Digital, as he is the next one on a timed lap. Probably the closest one on a timed lap, going for provisional pole. Soy Loco, he's currently making his way through sector 2 at the moment, through turn number 9. Let's stay along with Puff Digital here and see how he manages. Into turn 6 and 7, and I don't think he got turn 6 and 7 that much right. And yeah, my prediction was correct, as he did not get that one right whatsoever. That's going to be an interesting one. And you can see he was not really comfortable with that area of the track. As you saw, he took a little bit of a wider entrance to turn 6 and then had to really hit the brakes for turn 7, and I think he maybe just got a little bit jumpy. And M. Galloway, he hasn't just gone and... No, this is Puff Digital. M. Galloway is in the pits. But you could see he really had to just slap the throttle coming off of turn number 7 in order to maybe try to get some of that time back that he lost in turn number 6. And the rest, as they say, is history on that. And as the qualifying session stands, Capitano makes his way into P number 2. Into P2 rather, on 3-lap old softs as well. Now that's pretty interesting. Ben's Rice has provisional pole. Soy Loco, I think, is going to be the next to the line here. He's got plenty of time to finish out his lap if he chooses to do so. Haytai, he's sitting pretty in about 3rd place right now. Murphinselli sitting 4th. Not bad results from those two, I'll say that much. And Ray 46 still not happy with Murphinselli there, as Murphinselli, both of those drivers were affected by that incident between those two, but obviously Ray 46 not happy that Murphy still getting that 4th position after the incident that they had. And I didn't really get to see much of what happened, although I'm assuming that there was no malintent going on there between the two drivers. I think simply just accidents happen, and that's going to be that. So Uncle Ben's Rice taking pole position here at Interlagos by nearly half a second over El Capitano. Now, El Capitano, I tell you what, being that Will Ans is reserving up in Div 1 this week, which I hope that he does well as well, because I think he fully deserves to be in Division 1. But El Capitano definitely filling in the shoes of Will Ans here with a P2 result. Very, very solid from him. Heitai Gaming doing great for that Ferrari team. What kind of camera angle is this? So why do I have it? As we will now go over those qualifying results. So Uncle Ben's Rice in that Renault machine taking pole position. El Capitano taking P2. Heitai Gaming in 3rd. Murphy 4th. Soy Loco in 5th. Another solid result for the BWT Racing Point team. 6th and 7th for Puff Digital and M. Galloway. 8th is Young DJ. 9th Mookie Mafia. 10th is Lingy. 11th Fuselim. 12th Humble Hippo. 13th Saffron. 14th Forza Juve. 15th Detail. 16th Nirunik. 17th Adaltonian. 18th Hightower. 19th Spool and Dub. And then rounding out the field in P20 is Ray 46 after that unfortunate incident with Murph and Selly earlier in the session. And it looks like Galloway did hit the timer very, very early on, about 1:20 into the session. And while we have this moment in time, be sure to check out the Slipstream podcast on Spotify and anywhere else podcasts are available, as Adaltonian and Lingy 12 discuss all things Formula 1 and Midwest F1 related. Very fun podcast to be a part of, and a very good listen, a very good time in general, so be sure to definitely check them out. And so here we are. Now, it says the predicted pit stop strategy, but I tell you what, we're going to try something a little bit different this week, as we're going to have myself, as we're going to be going in for my own strategy predictions this week. So the trend of the season so far has been to make one-stop races, and with the softs being able to last between 14 and 17 laps, a one stop to the hard compound prior to lap 17 is in the cards. The hard tires can last about 26 laps maximum, so there's plenty of potential for the undercut as well. Assuming the drivers can make the softs last at least 16 laps, a 20-lap medium tire stint is possible, although it may be a little bit difficult at the end, especially maybe with a little bit of rain and, as the tires start to wear away. That's going to be pretty difficult to see there. And let's just go ahead and find out what tire people is on. So pretty much everybody in the top 10 except for Lingy and Fuselim has started on the medium compound. Everyone outside of it except for Heitai is on either the medium or hard compound. And boxing under an early safety car is not going to be recommended, as the earlier you pit, the more likely this is going to turn into a two-stop race, and I don't think anybody wants that at this moment in time, especially if you're in that if you're in those top 8 positions. And so here we go as the drivers make the way to the grid. I think I'm going to be looking out for Capitano here. He's definitely got a good chance at maybe pulling off an upset here around Uncle Ben's Rice. Puff Digital and Galloway both locking out. Well, actually not locking out. Puff Digital 4th, Galloway 5th. Those McLaren team definitely looks to be on somewhat of a high right now. A 4th and 5th starting position, not bad at all. I can't get one good camera angle of the lights. This is so painful. Here we go. Lights are coming on here in Interlagos. It is lights out, and away we go here in Interlagos. And I think Soy Loco maybe got the best start there as they head into turn number 1. It looks like Capitano's going to try to pressure the inside, though Benz Rice gets away very cleanly. And as they come down the hill, a couple drivers getting a little bit wide. That looked like the racing point of maybe Detail back there, getting a little bit wide. We got an incident up the hill. That's going to be Forza Juve. Nope, that's actually going to be Hightower that's gone off. I really don't understand what's going on here. Though Uncle Ben's Rice leading the pack up the hill, El Capitano managed to keep second position. Soy Loco has kept third. M. Galloway moving up into fourth. Pretty solid stuff there from everybody so far, and as we look at the position change, it looks like we got a little bit of a battle going on here through turn 9 at Saffron City, making his way around Haytite Gaming. Niru Nix right in there as well. Haytite trying to move to the inside. Haytite's going to cut off all of the corner, trying to get to Saffron's inside, and unfortunately, no dice there for Haytite Gaming as he tried to make that pretty much impossible overtake happen. Now only 0.5 of a second to the leader here. Capitano definitely trying his best to stay within the toe of Uncle Ben's Rice, and they're going to head back into turn number 1 this time by. Uncle Ben's Rice has the fastest lap off the start. Now here comes Capitano. He got a much better line through turn 1 than Ben's Rice. Ben's Rice maybe struggling just a little bit there. He's lost a decent amount of time. Capitano is going to have a really good opportunity at the overtake this time by. Here he goes down into turn number 4. It's side by side between the first and second on the grid, and it looks like Capitano is going to lose out on the position just for now, but a very good attempt that was. Definitely putting Uncle Ben's Rice in some pressure here. Soy Loco not that far behind this battle as well, and at the moment we have kept ourselves a very clean lap number 1. But meanwhile, here Soy Loco completely misses his braking point going into turn number 8, allowing M. Galloway to get the position. And now here's Capitano still trying his best to work down Uncle Ben's Rice. I'm not sure the tire differentials between these two drivers, although I do know that Capitano, when he made his qualifying lap to get into second position, was on 3-lap-old soft tires, so that tire delta is definitely going to be different, which means definitely different strategies here between the two drivers of Uncle Ben's Rice and Capitano. That one's going to be close to look out for. Soy Loco still trying to get back at Galloway. Puff Digital looks like he's making the pass on Monkey Mafia, and as they go into turn number 1 again, oh, and who's that? That is the Alpha Tauri of Lingy, who's gone well off the circuit, missing his braking point going into turn 1, rejoining the track right next to Haytite Gaming, not making any contact there, thankfully, as Lingy loses a couple spots there in the process. Now here's young DJ. He's moved down to 9th. He started in P6. Definitely not what he wanted, although I will say he's doing a good job of trying to hold in on it at this moment in time. Haytite apparently started in P20. He's up to P10. I don't know how that's happened. What kind of grid penalty did Haytite pick up? That I don't understand, however. And where is our interval here? Monkey Mafia still trying to find his way to Puff Digital. Now, I tell you what, the McLaren team has held up very, very well so far this race. Galloway going up to P number 3, Puff Digital only losing 1 spot going down to P5, although it looks like he's starting to maybe gain some time on Soy Loco. Speaking of Soy Loco, he's trying to make the move on M. Galloway going into 1, but speaking of battles for position, Capitano right on the back of Uncle Ben's Rice going into turn 1. The gap was within 1/10 of a second. Capitano seems to be moving all over the circuit. Not really sure what's happening here, as a little bit further back, it looks like Murfancelli side by side with Monkey Mafia as they go into turn number 4. A very clean start to this race for everyone, and it looks like Murfancelli is going to keep that position. No, Murfancelli gets really wide, and he's going to lose 2 spots in the process. 3 potentially, and he's going to lose 3 spots in the process. And then young DJ is going to go wide, and he's going to lose it. Oh, hold on to the car, please. And wow. Young DJ was millimeters away from ending probably 3 drivers' races. That is a very, very good save from young DJ, who went very wide going through turns 6 and 7. You have to wonder if there was maybe any contact there between drivers, and he somehow held on to the car enough to not crash into anyone going into turn number 8. Very nicely done from him indeed. Fuselim getting the DRS on Monkey Mafia. Now Monkey Mafia, I'm not really sure what to make of it here, as it says there's a gray dash, although it says he's made up one spot. I'm not really sure how that's come about here. And if we look and see who's on what tires now, Fuselim is only one of 2 drivers within the top 10 to be on that medium compound, him and Lingy 12 back there in 10th in the AlphaTauri. So that has played out very interesting here. Now we know those medium tires can last about 20 laps, so that is going to be fun to see towards the end of the race. Though I'm a little concerned that starting on the medium tires wasn't really the move, as you know, the softs could only last about 17 laps. So the mediums are going to be right around there as well. That is interesting in itself. Looks like Uncle Ben's Rice has put about 9/10 of a second back on El Capitano. Oh, Capitano's gotten loose! And I think he may have flipped over there in the process. And El Capitano in the wall on exit of turn number 13. And I don't think the safety car has came out. Although I will say that was a very, very heavy impact there for El Capitano, and he is quickly DNF from this race. Very, very unfortunate after starting P2. Definitely not what he needed, and I'm hoping we get a replay of that, because I think he could have flipped over. I mean, I know the connection wasn't really that good between me and him. As far as internet-wise, so I'm not really sure what's happened there, although I do know he did lose it on exit of turn 12 and wasn't able to save the car. Maybe clipped the grass going into 13, and the early end to the day for El Capitano, who was in the makings of having a very, very solid race. Definitely not what the AlphaTauri team needed. Now here's Heytai Gaming is trying to wear down Fuselim in that Haas. Heytai Gaming started P20, he's up to P8. And I tell you what, Heytai, when he's on his game, has so much pace, and he's going to have the DRS this time by, let's see what he has to offer. Fusa has the DRS as well on Murfancelli ahead of him. It's going to be side-by-side going into turn number 1. Fusa doesn't really give him all that much room, although Heytai was managed to keep it off the grass, and it looks like the position for now is going to be Fuselim. However, here comes Soy Loco trying to make his way onto the back of M. Galloway. At about a 5/10 of a second gap. Now here's Lingy. He made it around Heytai. It's side-by-side between these two as they go out of turn number 5. It's going to be side-by-side going into 6 potentially. Nicely done there from these two drivers. That's a fun battle to watch for sure. And that's Murfancelli. Maybe went a little bit wide on exit of turn 8. Definitely not what he needed. And we have a nice little grouping of cars here in the midfield. That's going to be an interesting battle to watch here. Another interesting battle is this battle for second between Soy Loco and M. Galloway. Now, it looks like Soy Loco definitely has the pace to catch up to M. Galloway within these next couple laps. He's going to have the DRS as well. Galloway doing everything he can, maybe try to break the toe as they head through turn 15. And back to the start-finish line. Soy Loco trying to look at the outside. And as we look a little bit further back, Murfancelli was able to make up the position on Monkey Mafia as they go into turn number 1 with a DRS. Nicely done there, although we just caught on to the end of it, so we didn't really get a good chance to see the end result of that battle. Soy Loco still doing everything he can to make it up to M. Galloway that's in that second spot. Now, M. Galloway doesn't have the DRS on Uncle Ben's Rice. He's 2 seconds behind. So Galloway right now could potentially be a sitting duck at this moment in time. We'll have to see what Soy Loco can pull off as we go a little bit further back. Here's Fuselim getting around Monkey Mafia, getting around it side by side going into turn number 8. This one's going to be a fun battle for sure. Mind you, Lingy is in this as well. It's a 4-car battle potentially, as Heytai Gaming also wants in on this as well. Side by side going into turn number 10, and it looks like Lingy might get the spot for now. Lurking not far behind is Heytai Gaming as they go through 11 and 12. Very, very fun battles early on in this race. And I tell you what, Lingy and Fuselim are doing an excellent job of keeping up with the rest of the field, being on that medium compound. Might be a little bit slower. Here's Fuselim as he's going to try to make a move around Lingy as they go through turn 15. Lingy's going to go around Monkey Mafia to the outside. Going into turn number 1, Fuse is going to try to hold that same line as well, and Monkey Mafia is going to have a pretty decent spot there to not also give up that position, although he did go maybe a little bit across the curbing through turn 2, definitely picked up a warning there. Here comes Fusa to the left-hand side, and now as they go into 4, who's going to outbrake who? And it's still side-by-side, going through the corner. Monkey Mafia doing everything he can to hold on to this position as well, and there goes Monkey Mafia picking up 3 seconds for exceeding track limits, and now Haytite right on the back of Monkey Mafia as well as they go through 6 and 7. Saffron City also in this as well. Now there goes Saffron to the inside, gets into the back of Monkey Mafia, somehow doesn't turn around Haytite as well, and Saffron City not in a good portion of the track to be spinning around through there. And I think he was just trying, El Capitan has left the session, I think he was just trying to maybe get on the inside of Haytite as well, hit the grass on the inside, and that is just so unfortunate there for Saffron, who went for the move, and it ended up biting him back. Very unfortunate there, Saffron. I tell you what, my guy is in need of a good result here. Side by side going into turn number 1 for the second position. It's still side by side, and it looks like Galloway is going to be forced wide off the circuit. Though here comes Soy Loco now trying to find the inside. It's going to be side by side here now. Meanwhile, the McLaren of Puff Digital he's going to send it through the middle. Puff Digital is going to try to send it through the middle. Gets around his teammate of M. Galloway, then goes to the inside of Soy Loco. What a move from Puff Digital! Wow, and an unbelievable move there. That had me out of my seat. Soy Loco has the position for now, but Puff Digital getting into that third position. What a move by Puff Digital to throw himself into the battle for this podium position. Woo-hoo-hoo, that one is going to be on a highlight reel. M. Galloway now picking up 3 seconds for exceeding track limits, which I have to assume was probably maybe on cutting to I honestly know where he could have picked up that time penalty through that section of the track. I'm not really sure. Wow, what an absolutely beautiful battle that was. But meanwhile, that gap from first to second has opened up to about 3.2 seconds, and this battle for the podium position's still underway. Meanwhile, here's Haytite Gaming right up against Monkey Mafia as they go through turns 1 and 2. Lingy 12 is going to pick up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. I believe that that's his second time penalty pickup. No, he's still sitting at 3 seconds. Saffron has picked up 6 himself. Wow. Now still the battle. Soy Loco doing everything he can to hold up these 2 McLarens behind him. This McLaren team, who sits 10th in the Constructors' Championship, just didn't have the luck they needed all season, currently sitting 3rd and 4th. Now Murphy wants on this battle as well. He's not that far off of Galloway, only about 0.5 of a second. Oh, and I think Murphy might get the better of Galloway here, as Galloway, he's going to box now. Now Galloway is on 10-lap-old soft tires. Now, he's going to try to make the hards last the whole race. Now, that one's going to be a little bit tricky to do, as the hards can only last 26 laps. He's going to have to go 20... Well, he's going to have to go 24 on them, but that one is going to be close. So we'll have to watch and see how M. Galloway handles that strategy. Meanwhile, Murphy, that moves him up into the 4th spot and only 7/10 behind this battle for the podium ahead. Saffron City now, he's going to want to try to get around 8 Altonian very shortly, as they're now going to head up the hill into turn number 6. Saffron City tried the move on, oh, who's that? That's 8 Altonian picking up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. Now, was that going through turn number 6? That could have been. Now, Saffron City tried that move, as I was saying, on 8 Altonian's Ferrari teammate of Haytite earlier, as Haytite was also trying to make a move on Monkey Mafia, and that just didn't end well for the 2 of them. For Saffron City. Who's this? That's Young DJ picking up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. So a lot of the drivers within the top 3 picking up within pretty much the whole field picking up time penalties here. Top 3 still doesn't have any. Oh, who's that? That is the Alfa Romeo of Humble Hippo back there in 18th position, off in a very interesting part of turn number 10. Now I'm going to go ahead and make a guess as to what's happened. He's hit the throttle way too early coming out of turn 10, and he spun the car around, as it doesn't appear that he has any wing damage. And yeah, I'm going to assume that's exactly what's happened, as I am victim of that myself. Murfancelli on this battle as well for the podium positions. Now Puff Digital under pressure, under more pressure from Murfancelli than as much pressure as he's putting on Soy Loco at this moment. Soy Loco starting to maybe cruise away a little bit. He's got a second of a gap. Now Murfancelli trying everything he can to put Puff Digital in a bad spot here. Now Puff Digital, maybe some contact made going through turn number 12. Now this one's going to be close. My only question is who's going to have the better strategy this race. We've already seen M. Galloway come in. Now he theoretically could make those hard compounds go the whole way. Murfancelli to the inside of Puff Digital going through turns 1 and 2. Not going to make the overtake stick. We'll side by side there for a good minute. Now through the DRS straight, who's going to outbrake who here, as both of these drivers have the DRS going into turn number 4. Murfancelli tried to get on the inside of Puff Digital. And Murfancelli finds himself at a steward's post behind the fence. And that is definitely not what Murfancelli needed there. And Murfancelli picking up 10 seconds for exceeding track limits. Now my question is Murfancelli going to get those 10 seconds back? Because honestly, it's not like he was in a bad position of the track. He was simply letting cars go by and had to rejoin. I think he honestly, he had an incident with this at Silverstone, or someone had an incident at Silverstone very similar to that, where they had to rejoin the track after going off and picked up 10 seconds. Now Detail almost slamming into the back of Monkey Mafia going into turn number 12. That would have been an absolute mess. Now here's Puff Digital going into the pits now, so Benz Rice still on track. Benz Rice almost losing it there through turn number 2. Oh, wow, he almost lost the rear end of that car. Lots of drivers choosing to come in now, Soy Loco being one, Puff Digital being one. I believe that's the Alfa Romeo. Actually, that's Haytite coming in. Murfancelli also came in. So lots of variation in the strategy now. That puts Fusilin up into that third spot. Now here's Detail trying to make the move on Monkey Mafia. This one's going to be fun to watch here very shortly. Now here's Fusa. He's only 0.7 of a second behind Lingy 12 in that Alpha Tauri machine. So Monkey Mafia has a 6-second gap on Fusilim in third. Lingy has that 3-second time penalty. But at this moment in time, that's not going to hurt him all that much. So pretty much everyone inside the top 10, aside from Soy Loco, still has yet to pit. And if we also look and see what tires those guys are on, so only 3 of them inside the top 10 are on soft compound tires. Soy Loco seemed to have a really good strategy. He's up to P8, and he just boxed. Now, speaking of drivers making moves here, Adel Tony side by side with Soy Loco. Now, we have an incident off over in Sector 3. That happens to be the Mercedes of Forza Juve. Now, what's happened here? Because he's in an interesting spot of the track as well. Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened there to Forza Juve. However, we still have a battle for position here. Fusilim trying everything he can to get back at Lingy 12. I think Lingy actually ended up getting the position whilst we cut away. Detail still trying to make moves on Monkey Mafia. A little bit further back, it looks like Ray 46 and Haytite in a battle here, and Haytite making the overtake stick there. Nicely done from him. Incident in Sector 1. Forza Juve has gone and retired from the session. Not what you want to see there. Puff Digital trying to make the move on M. Galloway. Now these two McLaren teammates have gone at it with each other pretty much this entire race. M. Galloway on 3-lap older hard compound tires. And this is kind of what I predict as Monkey Mafia comes in, but this is kind of what I predicted. I kind of knew that some of these drivers were going to make these soft compound tires go a little bit longer, and that's exactly what Uncle Ben's Rice is doing, as he still has yet to pit. Now, Monkey Mafia, he made his soft tires go 16 laps. But I tell you what, going from going from the softs to the mediums at this stage, it's still not going to be an easy task, as it looks like Adaltonian, it's 3 wide right here, and I believe that's Puff Digital sent it 3 wide yet again, trying to make the move. That was, I don't even know what's happened there. Someone made it 3 wide, kind of shoved Adaltonian off track, and we have a DNF, and that's going to be, I believe that's Humble Hippo that's gone into the pits and retired. But we'll have to get Adaltonian's perspective of that, as yet another 3 wide between 2 McLarens. And it looks like Uncle Ben's Rice coming in now. So I think that, honestly, Uncle Ben's Rice is going to have the easiest time on these medium tires, as he made the softs go 17 laps. Now, I will say, those guys on the medium tires who are on these 17-lap-old medium tires, they are going to have to pit very soon as well, as we have a yellow flag over in sectors 1 and 2. That happens to be, I think that's Murphinselli? Adaltonian? Someone's gone off. M. Galloway has just picked up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. Now that is going to put him at 6 seconds. Uncle Ben's Rice is DNF'd. What has happened? We've got Ben's Rice off, going through the DRS section. Goodness me, do we need a replay on that? Oh, we have an Alfa Romeo around. That's Murphinselli. Now that's someone, I'm not really sure, but we have a virtual safety car now. Uncle Ben's Rice, I'm not really sure what's happened to him. Uncle Ben's Rice was just fresh off of coming out of the pits. And you have to believe maybe he rejoined and someone tried to make a move or something, and that's resulted in a DNF for Ben's Rice. Lingy and Fusilim coming in now. So this is the prediction that I made. The drivers that were on those medium tires that started on that compound coming in now. Now it's going to be a real challenge. Those soft compounds, they're going to have to make those go almost 20 laps. That is not going to be easy to do, as Detail and Soy Loco, BWT Racing Point team, getting into the top 1 and 2. Lingy 12 on those fresh, soft compound tires. I think he and Soy Loco are going to have the battle for the ages at some point very shortly. As Detail, I think he's going to need the box very shortly. Unbelievable. I honestly have no idea what has happened there. Unbelievable, and Uncle Ben's Rice typing in the Discord chat as we speak. And it looks like Galloway may have gotten around Fusilim there. It was close. Didn't really get a good angle of it. Trying to look at 2 things at once. Hightower picking up 5 seconds for ignoring the blue flags. Now here comes Fusilim trying to get around the right-hand side of M. Galloway, and Fusilim making the overtake happen. Now Fusilim's on those fresh, soft compound tires. And so Ben's Rice is saying that someone in an Alfa Romeo came out of the pits and didn't hit the gas. So Uncle Ben's Rice rear-ended him at full speed. We'll have to get a replay on that. I'm not really sure who that was. Could it have been Murphinselli, because I'm pretty sure Humble Hippo was already DNF'd at that point in time. I have no idea what's actually happened there. Hopefully, I'll have found a replay to throw in now. Meanwhile, another battle between the 2 McLaren drivers. Now, Puff Digital, I will say, has been throwing everything but the kitchen sink at his teammate of M. Galloway and the rest of the field, as he is trying some of the most ridiculous overtaking maneuvers I've seen out of anybody this season. Almost as ridiculous, probably more, than the drivers going 4 wide going through Radion at Spa a couple weeks ago. Lingy 12 setting the fastest lap. Still have yet to see the BWT Racing Point of Detail come in, and this one's going to be close between the 2 McLarens. Now Galloway has 6 seconds of time penalties. Just picked up another warning there, I'm sure. And I tell you what, here, there's no team orders between these two drivers. They are giving it everything they have to get around one another. This is some great racing. But I really hope that an incident doesn't happen, because I tell you what, the McLaren team really needs this result. And as I say that, Puff Digital gets into the side of M. Galloway, nearly catches air. Unbelievable. And now Puff Digital has a task of trying to rejoin the circuit. And Puff Digital being disqualified from the session for going the wrong way. And Puff Digital, the AI taking over and retiring him from the session. I mean, I'm on board with that. So you can't really fault Puff Digital for that happening. Now here comes Lingy 12 trying to make a move on Soy Loco, moving up to the inside, going into turn number 4. And Lingy making that overtake stick. Absolutely nicely done from him. Wow. Now, hey, Ty, he's trying to make moves on Monkey Mafia here. We've had 5 DNFs in this race. And I tell you what, Puff Digital, you have to credit the effort that he was putting in so far. But unfortunately, you simply can't go side by side going through turn 6 and 7. It's just not going to work. I was surprised he went 3 wide and made the overtake stick going into 4. Twice. So you really have to credit the effort from Puff Digital here. Now Heitai is going to move to the inside of Monkey Mafia. Both of them on the medium compound tires. Maybe some contact made there. I'm not really sure if anything did happen between the two. Although a battle for the lead here. Lingy 12 getting around Detail. Now, I knew it was only a matter of time before the tire deltas got the best of Detail, as he's on 22-lap-old medium tires. Now, those tires really can only be able to last maybe 20 efficiently. He should have probably boxed by now, but I tell you what he's going to do. He's going to move to that soft compound for the end of the race, as Lingy 12 takes the lead. And now maybe a battle between the two BWT Racing Point team. Soy Loco, he's definitely going to have the better of Detail here, as Detail on much older tires, and finally Detail choosing to come into the pits. Now I'm wondering how many spots he is going to lose. At least maybe 4 or 5 spots. Here comes Murphin Selly. He's going to move up into 4th. Now you have to credit the effort for Detail for trying to make an overcut work. But I just think that 22 laps on the medium compound tires was not going to help him. And he's moving down the order fairly quickly. Yellow flag over in Sector 3. That is, I believe that's Ray 46 in the grass. Only 2 drivers in the field without some sort of time penalty, one of them being Fusilim and the other being Heitai Gaming TTV. Young DJ picking up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings here. Now my question is definitely going to be for Murphin Selly, who has that 13 seconds of time penalty. I'm not sure if 10 of them can be taken off. We'll have to potentially look at that, because it's not like he's had a safety car. And also their track limits penalties. You can't wipe off 10 seconds of track limits penalties. So we'll have to check with that at the end of the race. As the field now starts to get maybe a little bit spread out here, maybe a little bit more than I would have actually liked. There's Monkey Mafia. Yeah, still not within DRS range of Heitai. So almost 10 laps to go now. And Uncle Ben's Rice has just sent me the clip of... This is real time. Uncle Ben's Rice has just sent me the clip of his DNF, and I tell you what, definitely not the circumstance that he would have wanted, although I very much appreciate him doing that. Wow. Just wow. This race is getting stranger by the minute, that's for sure. So meanwhile, here's Fusilin within 0.7 of a second on Soy Loco. Now, Soy Loco's got 6 seconds worth of penalties. Although the interesting thing is, Murfancelli behind him has 13 seconds, so that's going to be interesting to work out. Nearly has about a 6-second gap on Murfancelli as is. Look a little bit further back. Haytight still trying to make the move on M. Galloway going into turns 6 and 7 here. Now Haytight's done a good job of getting himself back into the top 10 as he started P20, currently P6, so very nice day for him. Trying to make the overtake happen. He's right on the gearbox of M. Galloway. Galloway maybe a little bit of oversteer on exit of turn 10. Now this is going to be a close battle for sure. 10 laps to go here in Interlagos. Now is Haytight going to try to make the overtake happen? He's got the toe. And he's going to try the inside line. Now that's probably the best idea going into turn 1. Right on the left rear of M. Galloway. Looks like Fusilin's getting around Soy Loco in the process. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see that battle. However, Haytight now has the DRS, but M. Galloway staying right with him. Galloway trying everything he can to keep up with Haytight, and Hightower's just picked up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. Haytight's the only driver in the field, aside from Fusilin, that hasn't got a time penalty at this moment of time, and is that rain that I'm seeing hit the ground? That is rain here in Interlagos. What else would it be? This is Interlagos. It rains here all the time, doesn't it? So now with 9 laps to go in this race, nearly 8 laps to go, how much is this race going to be affected by rain? Because there's still a lot of time left. This track could get super wet in 8 laps. Granted, it's not that heavy at this moment in time. Although, as you can see, drivers like M. Galloway definitely maybe struggling for grip here a little bit. 15-lap-old hard compound. Adaltonian, is he trying to make a move on Nirun Nix? Potentially, as they go into turn 12. Here comes Adaltonian. Is he going to try to find a lane on Nirun Nix? Nirun is going to move to the right-hand side of the track. Adaltonian, can he try to stick to the inside? And it looks like Adaltonian's going to back off of it for now. Late braking again, so he did some trail braking maneuver there. Made up a lot of time on Nirun Nix, and this battle just got a lot closer. Sometimes it's genius, it's almost frightening, and now Adaltonian almost smarted his way into an overtake. Still close, still possible. Look at this Hightower being the first one to fit the intermediate compound. I'd say a little bit early, as you're not even close to the track being wet right now. Rain's only been going for 1 lap. It's not gonna soak the track that immediately. But I mean, Hightower's got nothing to lose. He's on those. He's in P15 currently. Might as well fit the intermediates, and yeah, it definitely looks like he's struggling for grip here. Meanwhile, Adaltonian's still trying to get around Nirun Nix. Adaltonian's going to move to the inside, even without DRS. It's going to be side-by-side between these two drivers, and Adaltonian gets the DRS and the overtake. And I tell you what, Adaltonian thoroughly deserved that move on Nirun Nix, as did a very nice job of getting into the position in the first place last lap. Very nicely done. But Nirun Nix is still in on this. He's got the DRS. Now trying to move to the inside of the track. It's side-by-side going into 4. Still side by side, contact being made, and Nero next going around. Adaltonian gets the position, although maybe not in the cleanest manner. Although I'm not going to say that that was anybody's fault. I'd have to look at the footage again. As I can understand, Nero may be struggling for grip at this time of the track. Adaltonian, I think, left him plenty of room. Surely seemed like he did. We'll have to look at that one again. Saffron City, could he make a move on his Williams teammate of Monkey Mafia? Yellow flag in Sector 2, that's Ray 46. Ray 46 has DNF'd. And a full safety car with 6 to go. And Ray 46 has thoroughly pinned in his car in a very bad part of the circuit as well. This race, you can't make this up, can you? This is Division 2. Storyline after storyline, after drama, after race of the season candidate after race of the season candidate. It just gets better and better. Murfincelli choosing to pit now. He's not replacing a front wing or anything. He's actually fitting the medium tires. That's going to be interesting. He's been gone for plenty of time there. As we see the crew take the tires away. So, what happens next is the question at hand. Soy Loco and Heytai Gaming on 15-lap-old medium tires. Now, they still have a bit to go on this compound tires. However, I mean, we're not going to get that many laps to go by the end of the safety car. It's going to be really interesting to see because Fuselim and Lingy, those soft compounds really can only go 16 laps. They're on 11 at this moment in time. So we're going to be looking at a battle for the lead right there. Heytite's in on this as well. Now, Heytite could somehow snatch a podium here if he stays along with Soy Loco long enough. Soy Loco's got 6 seconds of penalties. Wow. So Fuselim's in a good spot. He's in second place. Lingy ahead of him has 3 seconds of time penalty. Soy Loco behind him has 6 seconds of time penalty. Not a lot of cars choosing to box either now. We have Hightower. Now Hightower is in a weird spot here because he's currently lined up 4th behind the safety car. Though if you add number 1 to the beginning of number 4, you'll have 14. And that's the position he sits in currently. The Heytite, who mind you is trying to get on the podium, is behind him in actual 4th position. Now, is Hightower going to let these drivers by? That's going to be the next question. Another question, if you want to add on top of that, is who's going to have the most grip? Because the rain is falling. Now, I don't think it's enough to switch over to the intermediate tires. However, some of these drivers, if your name is Lingy, Fuselim, Soy Loco, Heytai Gaming, M. Galloway as well, how much grip are you going to have on those old tires? Because M. Galloway is on the 19-lap-old hard tires, Heytite's on 16-lap-old mediums, Soy Loco's 16-lap-old mediums, Lingy and Fuselim on 12-lap-old softs. Every one of the drivers in the top 5, their tires are nearing the end of their life. In fact, the person with the nearest tires closest to the top 5 is Detail back there in P8 with 7-lap-old softs. So expect Detail to make some moves on this start. Wow. So I'm assuming we're going to get safety car in this next lap, which is going to leave us with 3 laps to go at the end of the safety car. Wow, and I tell you what, I'm not really sure what to say right now because we're in for another classic. Now, I do still think that these two drivers in first and second, Lingy and Fuselim, are going to be the best out here on the beginning of the safety car. I do think that is going to be the case. I know their tires are old, but they're on the soft compounds, and they're still going to have about 4 laps before the tires get undrivable. They're going to have 3 laps to go. And as you can see here, Lingy is kind of struggling for grip here through the rain. This one is going to be interesting, to say the least. We have yet to receive the message that Bernd Maylander will end his joyride around the circuit, and finally the message does come in as the Mercedes safety car. And now Haytite, 5-second penalty for colliding with Hightower. And now you have to wonder, has Haytite's gaming, has his chance of snatching a podium just gone out the window? You'd have to believe that is the case. Lingy, right there in first place, must be feeling a lot of pressure. The field getting bunched up behind the top 2. We're back to green flag racing. Drivers starting to scramble everywhere. There's 3 cars off in the back. That's Adaltonian, Murfinselli. Oh, drivers being collected everywhere. Big incident there between Murfinselli and Adaltonian got in on it as well. Tires, or not tires, but front wings being thrown throughout the track. Now M. Galloway, can he make the move on Haytite? Lingy's already got a 1.2 seconds on Fuselim. Oh, and you saw the drivers throughout the back of the field doing everything they can to get heat into those tires, and I think maybe they just hit the throttle a little bit too soon. Unbelievable. As both of those drivers, Adaltonian and Murfinselli, are both on pace to have pretty solid races as well. Murfinselli in particular. Unbelievable. I actually can't believe this. But a good midfield battle is ensuing here. Saffron City now, is he going to try to make a move around Monkey Mafia for that 6th spot? I don't know what it's going to come out to with penalties anyways. You'd have to assume that the 5-second given to Haytite is going to be under investigation. We'll have to look at that separately. Lingy's already put 2 seconds on Fuselim. This is going to be close between these two drivers. I feel like Lingy right now has the pace to maybe get that gap up to 3 seconds. 2.2 going into turn number 4. Now, you gotta believe that he's struggling for grip on this soft compound tires, but he's still trying his best to keep it around 2.2 seconds. Saffron City still trying to do something to get around Monkey Mafia. Adaltonian has retired from the session in the pits. Murfinselli has pit himself. So another DNF there. That brings the field down to only 13 drivable cars. And Murfinselli has actually gotten rid of his 10 seconds of penalties. 2.6 seconds, the gap from first to second. Monkey Mafia trying to get around Galloway for that 5th spot, potentially, depending on how penalties come out. Yellow flag, that's going to be Hightower, who's going around over in exit of turn 10. Now we're going to watch this battle. DRS has been enabled despite the rain. 2.8 seconds the gap between first and second. Now down to 2.7. Do you think Lingy could pull this out of the bag? Up to 3 seconds now the gap. Fuselim, 5/100ths of a second away from being in first place. Now closes the gap within 2.9, 2.8. And that gap is slowly but surely closing in. 2/10 of a second sit between Lingy and Fuselim winning this race. Lingy trying everything he can to keep the heat into these tires and to keep the grip. Still hanging around 2.6 seconds now. The gap getting even closer. Fuselim has to put on 5/10 of a second on Lingy has to put on 5/10 of a second on Fuselim in these final couple corners in sector number 3 alone. 2.6 seconds the gap. It was 3 going into turn number 1. Lingy's doing everything he can. The gap back up to 2.7. Now 2.8. It's going to be close. 2.86, 2.9. Oh, and it's going to be really close at the line. And Fuselim getting the win by 8/100ths of a second. 8/100ths of a second sat between Lingy and Fuselim. And it looks like Heytight Gaming is going to take P3 as well. Wow. Unbelievable. 8/100ths of a second. Sat between Fuselim. Sat between Lingy and a win. That was just completely unbelievable. And Heytight Gaming picking up driver of the day. So the win for Haas, with Fuselim taking the win here. Very nicely done from him. Lingy 12 in second, and then Heytight Gaming in third. We're going to get to those interviews shortly after this race. Wow. So Fuselim taking the win by 8/100ths of a second. Lingy taking second. Heytight Gaming in third. Soy Loco fourth. Monkey Mafia fifth. Detail in sixth. M. Galloway in seventh. Young DJ in eighth. Saffron City ninth. Niru Nix in 10th. 11th Spool and Dub. 12th Murfinselli. 13th Hightower. And then that is the rest of the... I mean, those are the only drivers that actually finished this race. Adol Tony and Ray 46, Uncle Ben's Rice, Humble Hippo, Forza Juve, Capitano, and Puff Digital, all unlucky and DNFing here. We're going to get to those interviews right now. Right, so I am sitting here with the 3 podium finishers in the party, Heytight Gaming, Fusale, and then Lingy 12. Not necessarily in that order, just listing them off. Heytight, I'm going to start with you now. You didn't actually qualify P20, though you started there. Is there a specific reason why? I don't know if I caught on to that. I must have missed it in the stream.
Well, to start off, the game ended up just messing with me and put me on spectator when I joined in, even though I had distinctly remembered selecting Ferrari before I ended up readying up. So I had to leave the game because it wouldn't allow me to take over Sebastian Vettel. And I re-entered, and apparently there's a bug. If you enter qualifying after the session has started, you'll still be put on the back of the grid. So I just got really... I was a bit pissed at it, but
I don't blame you.
It was at that point where I was just like, okay, I'm gonna stick on soft, see if I can have the best start of my life and just have fun, and got a podium.
I tell you what, that was definitely a fun time to watch you get up into that position. You had some good battles there with Monkey Mafia as well in the midfield when you were working your way up. Next week we go the final 3 races of the season, in a bit of an interesting order as well. Hungary next week, France, and then Singapore, the season finale. How do you feel going into these final 3?
Well, Hungary is probably one of my strongest tracks in the game, which is a huge contrast to last year where I was utterly horrible at it. I think I do have really good pace there, especially along the race pace. Even if I qualify outside the top 10, I'll be able to just put the car in the right positions and keep it up throughout the race. France, not so much. It's a very weird track with how it combines like very technical sections with long ass straights, and the runoff areas are just, I don't know why, it just feels like I have weird amounts of grip whenever I go around a corner there. And then Singapore, it's going to be interesting to end off the season. It's always going to be very difficult on a street circuit. We saw that with Monaco and Baku. But I think I can hopefully impress on Singapore, although it's going to be one of the longest races we're going to have. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Well, I tell you what, it's been an absolute pleasure watching you today. A very well-deserved podium, another one of surely many to come as well, as it definitely H-Type becoming one of the more up-and-coming drivers in this division. Lingy, I tell you what, 0.08 of a second away from taking the win. Now, we had that last safety guard towards the end, and it was raining. I mean, do you think with better circumstances you would have been able to hold out the position?
I think I was. I mean, I'm guessing that me and I'm sorry, I forgot the guy that won the race's name. So the first race in this league. Fieseland. Me and Fieseland had pretty similar pace at the start of both of our stints. But I think both sort of setup and driving wise, I was managing my tyres a lot better. And I had the 3-second penalty, but I pulled the gap to about, I think 3.6, 3.7, and was quite comfortable. I think I probably had enough to hold off, but if buts and maybes, there's a saying in Italy that if my grandmother had wheels, she'd have been a bike, and can't rely on if buts and maybes. It's what it is,
Only absolutes.
That's the one, yeah.
Well, I tell you what, it was a very fun race to watch, and I tell you what, you made very, very well here on what I believe is your debut in the league. Very, very nicely done from you, and I tell you what, it was an absolute pleasure watching you in this race. Now, I do want to ask, there was a lot of differentials you could have taken with the strategy in this race, depending on how long you made the initial stint last. You could have either gone to the mediums and tried to stick it out for 20 laps, or you could have played it safe and gone to the hard. I mean, how much did that play into your mind going into this race?
The choice to go on the mediums was because of the rain. In my experience in Interlagos, the rain normally when it comes hard. So I thought if I go on the mediums, it gives me that variation to one stop, and switch to sort of wet conditions. The reason I picked it when I did, and I'm sure the same with Fusion, was that there was a BSC, and it's too good an opportunity not to pit. I was tempted by the hards, but I think especially if I knew rain was coming, even if the conditions haven't switched to wets, you want to be on the softer tyre, because it just gives so much of an advantage in wet conditions. So yeah, medium to soft, as the race developed, was pretty clear the best choice.
Well, absolutely. So thank you for joining me. Absolutely brilliantly deserved podium. I think on a better day you could have gotten the win, but I tell you what, it's still a very amazing drive from you. And then Fusale, I tell you what, I said it at the beginning of the stream, now that Will Ans was reserving in Div 1 tonight, anything could happen, and we could have one of the races of the season. We had just that. Now, I tell you what, you said coming into the party that you were under a lot of pressure there towards the end. How much were you feeling that going out of that final safety car?
Oh, yeah, I was hanging on because I knew I was going to have really, really cold tires. I didn't quite get to warm them up to my liking under the safety car because the safety car was really slow, and I was always worried about hitting the guy in front. But yeah, so on the restart, I knew my tires would take at least a lap to warm up to a decent level, so that's where I lost most of the time. I couldn't hang on within DRS range, ideally. But yeah, I ended up losing, a second and a half, 2 seconds pretty much on the first lap alone, and then it was just a matter of hanging on, just enough to stay within, and just enough it was. Basically,
yeah, well, I tell you what, it was... Yeah, and I mean, hang on, you did. As I tell you what, I think the gap was just about 3 seconds going on to that final lap, and then I think the gap was as close as 2.5 at one point going through Sector 2. So I tell you what, going into Sector 2, that final lap, there was absolutely no telling who was going to win that race. But speaking of, the next three, we've got Hungary, France, and Singapore. Now, Haas, your team in general, kind of struggling a little bit, though you have the potential to crack maybe even the top 6, maybe the top 5 within these next 3 races of Hungary, France, and Singapore. How do you think you'll do?
Hopefully, I think I tend to generally do well at Hungary. It is one of my stronger tracks, but France I'll likely not be available for, so someone will have to take over. Singapore is a very meh track. I've had good races there, I've had bad races there, but I wouldn't say I'm particularly quick at Singapore.
Right, well, thank you all for joining me. Thank you to the podium finishers. Absolutely brilliantly done. This has been an instant classic here in Interlagos. And be sure to join us again next week when we take on, well, I forgot the name of the Hungary circuit, but we'll come back next week when we go to Hungary, which is sure to be another absolute gem of a race. For all of us here in the Midwest F1 League, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you